January 22nd.
Today in 1901, Britain's Queen Victoria died after 63 years on the throne. In 1970, the Boeing 747 went into service. Today in 1973, the Supreme Court announced its decision in Roe v. Wade, striking down most anti-abortion laws as unconstitutional. And on this day in 1998, Theodore Kaczynski pleaded guilty to the bombings that had earned him the nickname the Unabomber. Over 17 years, the math professor turned recluse mailed homemade bombs to people that he thought represented an overly technological society. After 3 deaths, 23 injuries, and one of the most expensive investigations in FBI history, Kaczynski was turned in by his brother, who was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And that's this day in history.
This is Franciscan Media's Saint of the Day for January 22nd. Today we celebrate Saint Vincent. Most of what we know about today's saint comes from the Christian poet Prudentius, a contemporary of Vincent's in 4th century Spain. According to the accounts we have, Vincent was ordained a deacon by his friend Saint Valerius. This was around the time the Roman emperors had published edicts against the clergy and, 1 year later, against the laity. Vincent and Valerius were imprisoned, but they did not break. For whatever reason, Valerius was released and sent into exile. Now the emperor turned the full force of his fury on Vincent, who suffered unspeakable tortures. Ironically, it was the Emperor Dacian who was the first to show signs of disintegration. When his would-be executioners failed in their gruesome task, the frustrated emperor had them beaten. When the torture resumed, Vincent remained courageous. Dacian wept with rage, but toward the end ordered the prisoner to be given some rest. Friends among the faithful came to visit Vincent in his final hours. When they managed to settle him on a comfortable bed, he went to his eternal rest in the year 304. Martyrs like Vincent are heroic examples of what God's power can do.
In a reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark. The scribes who had come down from Jerusalem were saying, "Beelzebul is in him, and it is through the prince of devils that he drives devils out." So Jesus called them to him, and he spoke to them in parables. How can Satan drive out Satan? If a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot last. And if a household is divided against itself, that household can never last. Now, if Satan has rebelled against himself and is divided, he cannot last either. It is the end of him. But no one can make his way into a strong man's house and plunder his property unless he has first tied up the strong man. Only then can he plunder his house. In truth, I tell you, all human sins will be forgiven, and all the blasphemies ever uttered. But anyone who blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will never be forgiven, but is guilty of an eternal sin. Now this was because they were saying, there is an unclean spirit in him. The Gospel of the Lord.